Podcast time. Rob, why do we have a Procase?
Why do we have a Procase?
Yeah. What's the deal?
You came in pretty silky and smooth with that question. That's a little off-putting right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the showcase has become a really great event for us. I just think it's been a really good opportunity to bring in really high-end guys, quality guys from a seven-state radius, be able to put them in one spot, give them an opportunity to get seen by MLB scouts, to be able to consolidate those MLB scouts and their workload and to be able to come in and do some one-stop shopping. So I think it's just really worked out well for the players, the families, the MLB scouting community, and it's been a good thing. It continues to build year after year in talent. We've always kind of tried to keep it a small, more intimate event, very concise and structured, and it's just become a really good thing.
Now, the reason for the scouts to see them is kind of because this is the right ahead of the season, the juniors and incoming seniors to try to get a gauge on who they should track, correct?
Yeah, it's kind of two-piece. You have these seniors going into their either spring or summer season with draft day coming up in July, and then you have the next group of guys, the juniors making their way up. So they get to see these guys for this upcoming draft year, but then they kind of get that early look at that junior class, so they can start kind of piecing guys out and seeing who they have to follow, maybe sooner than later once those guys hit their senior year.
And this is year 5, correct? Going into year 5 of the Midwest Procase. You've had some big names, and I think there's 6 currently in pro ball. Several others that have been drafted that didn't sign. Any standouts that you can think of in the recent years?
Yeah, we've had good success of guys going straight out from high school. I think when we get to this year's draft, when if you look at like a historical roster of this event, I think this upcoming draft will be really significant because as we're going through that roster, there's a ton of guys now that are either draft eligible sophomores or in their junior year of college that I know, whether it be from us or with our draft focus or D1 baseball or whatever it may be. There's guys that are ranked really high from a draft perspective, and so I think that's going to blow up quite a bit. But we've had a ton of really good performers, like from the offensive side of things. Sam Harris, who's now at Duke. Everything that we read and see sounds like he had a great fall. Looks to enter the lineup and be like a really big contributor for them down there. One of my favorite guys coming out of high school, Clayton Campadilli. He put up big numbers. I think at this point he may have the Procase record. I think he was up to like 107 exit velos with Wood. He's finishing up this year at Kirkwood, and then he's committed to USC Upstate. So you have those two. Cale Fountain obviously was a big one. He came his, I believe, junior year, came to the event, put up some big exit velo numbers, performed really well from the pitching side of things. Probably one of the best performances of any guy at the Procase over the last 4 or 5 years was Nate Snead from Milwaukee. Showed up, ran like a 6'6", was triple digits from the outfield, jumps on the mound, runs it up to 96, 97. And up to that point, I think maybe the highest velos we had at the Procase were maybe some 3s and 4s. And he just camped out on 96, 97, his whole bullpen. Really picked up a lot of steam. Started out at Wichita State. Now he's kind of the main guy, closer for the University of Tennessee. He's got a chance to go relatively high in the draft this coming year. Jackson Wentworth was another big performer, now with the Nationals, I believe.
Blue Jays.
Blue Jays took him out of K-State. He's another guy that has performed really well. Drew Rarick from North Dakota, now at University of Texas. Isaac Morden was a big performer down at A&M. I know he's had a lot of highlights coming out on him recently. think he's gaining a lot of steam going into the spring season. Kadu Obermuller was a big guy. And he was a little different. Like when he came to the Procase, Cade was maybe like 90, 91 ish. But that whippy left arm, and he was like a data darling. Like I took so many calls from scouts and had to send so many additional like advanced TrackMan reports on him just because once you started digging into the data points on him, like he just was so like an outlier and had so many differentiating factors compared to most guys. And obviously, much less that. Now he's gone to Iowa. The velocity has continued to increase. Now he's consistent mid 90s from the left side. Drafted last year, decided to bypass that opportunity back at Iowa again now for his, because he was a draft eligible sophomore, I believe. But back at Iowa now, slated to be their number one on the mound. There's just been a lot of guys that have performed extremely well at this type of an event.
Well, let's change focus now to the 2025 coming up this coming week. Give me a position player you're excited to see.
I actually want to see where Garrett Lute is at from Underwood. I just really like the physicality. I like the athleticism. I know he's kind of juggling the dual sport. He's in the middle of basketball season. So it'll be interesting to see where he's at. I could see him just blowing up and doing really, really well, or I think you're going to see the typical Garrett Lute that we've seen that is uber talented, but you can tell that there's still a little rust to shake off over the winter. But I think I think he should have a good showing on Wednesday.
He was a standout on the spring league, correct?
Yeah. From held it down defensively, had really competitive at bats against high end arms that you're typically going to see in our spring league. And then he's also the type of guy he'll jump on the mound and he'll give you 90 plus with a second pitch for strikes and be just an all around really good baseball player. So he should be fun to watch.
Speaking of arms, let's go over to the stable, the arm barn that you're rolling out. You got an arm that you're also excited to see.
Yeah, I think after a fall and a winter of training and growth and development, I actually am really interested to see where Cole Moore is in the process. I mean, we've seen him pretty much settled in at 90, 92, 93. It'll be interesting to see if there's another jump in there or where he's at from a development perspective. And I do think there's a little bit of a dark horse on the mound. I think Will Piero from Dubuque. He'll be at the event. Committed to the University of St. Thomas. I know he had a little bit of middling success this last summer in high school ball, but I've seen some reports. I've seen some videos out on social media, him climbing into the mid 90s, and it'll be interesting to see if he can replicate that and what type of velocity he ultimately puts up. But I think he's a guy that not a lot of people have seen, not a lot of people from a pro perspective have laid their eyes on, and so I think that'll be interesting to see.
I know we don't have necessarily an average velocity with arms from each Procase, but it seems to me just over the years it's trending for like you get excited about 90, 91, and now like 94, 95 is kind of the median, it seems, for these guys. And yeah, it's some point somebody's going to hit a upper nines,
Yeah, and I think you and I talk about it a lot. I mean, it's across the board, whether it be at an ID event or at an invite only like a preseason All-State, or ratcheting up to the Super 60 or a Midwest Procase. Tools continue to grow, tools continue to develop, and what's the old 88 used to be 90, and now 90 is now 92, and 92 is now 94, and just continues to grow.
It's the Justin Timberlake line from The Social Network. what's cool, 95 is cool now. So yeah.
I do like that movie.
JT. All right. Any final thoughts on heading into this pro case?
No, I'm just pumped to kind of try to put everybody together. I don't think this isn't necessarily a tryout. Like for all these guys, this isn't their one-stop shop that's going to make or break their career. But I do think there's a lot of value in face and name recognition. The more you can get in front of impactful people and decision makers and kind of create that track record and historical background, I think becomes pretty impactful for these guys. I know even last year, when you kind of look at that track record, I took numerous calls from MLB organizations. Like Brody Breck was obviously a big name coming out of Iowa his junior year. Scouts were digging and digging and digging. Like they didn't just want his data from last year. They were getting it from Iowa from his sophomore year, his freshman year. They wanted to know what we had from a high school perspective. Just creating those checkpoints and as much data as possible for people to go back and review and try to correlate really, really helps these guys when it comes down to making these types of decisions.
Yeah, it's crazy. Coming up for this one, we have 40 names from the high school side. 35 of them are D1 commits. A couple of them are JUCO, and there's still 3 uncommitted. So, I mean, pretty much everybody has at least the D1 route in their pocket, and there's 3 guys that are, probably using this to try to get seen a little bit.
Yeah, remind me, who are the 3 uncommitted guys?
We have Hayden Vucinovich from Bloomington Jefferson, Jack Zeller from Wisconsin, and Aiden Stelling, who was on Team Midwest out of Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean, Vucinovich, obviously, he's made some huge jumps in velocity. Kind of opened himself up here recently to look at some various options. He's probably not a guy that's on very many MLB radars up to this point. So I think it'll be big for him. Zeller, for me, I really, really like the bat for Iowa guys, or kind of, he reminds me of Jared Gates. Like Jared Gates played at Iowa Western, then went and started at the University of Arkansas. Just a hit machine. Originally a Kansas kid, but just a hit machine. Jack Zeller reminds me a lot of him. And then who's the third one?
Aiden Stelling, right-handed pitcher out of Lincoln Southwest.
Yeah, strong kid, big arm, future games participant, tons of ability. Coming out, junior year, this is just an opportunity for him to break the ice, kind of get his name back out there on a bigger stage. So all 3 very different guys, but all 3, this becomes a great opportunity for him.
Yeah, it's if the Super 60 is kind of the Catalina wine mixer of the national side of things, the pro case is not too far off from that. So it's fun, and I know not everybody could be there to watch it, but like great to see the numbers afterwards. Like because these guys, like we've said, even the last 4 or 5 years, those names you start seeing around either in the D1 ranks or something to get drafted. Like this is it; they're going to make a mark. So it's fun to see where they're at right now. Most of them heading into their draft year.
Yeah, I mean the Super 60 has become a very niche event. When you're bringing in 60, 65 of the best guys from across not just the entire United States, but including Canada as well. It becomes pretty finite with who's going to be able to be there. But we know that there's more than that. There's more than 60, 65 guys in the country that are deserving and need to be on MLB radars to some degree. So we're able to expand upon that a little bit and give more guys in our region and territory opportunities like this. But ultimately, if I do take offense, because we know the Iowa Preseason All-State is the Catalina wine mixer of events, but I guess ultimately, and we love it here in Iowa. If Super 60 is the Budweiser of pro events, then we're the Busch Light. we are the Bush Light of pro events. We are the latte. We're just as good, maybe at a little cheaper cost, and we're ready to rock.
Your blue collar working man's event is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Put your hard hat on and let's go.
All right. Well, that's good enough. Let's stop there.